The loud slap echoed through the mansion before I even realized what had happened. My brother, Daniel Okafor, stood frozen by the door. His eyes were fixed on me and Michael Adeyemi, his best friend, the same man he trusted with his business, his secrets, and even our family. The problem? Michael's lips were still on mine, and I wasn't pulling away. "Grace," Daniel shouted, voice trembling with anger. "Tell me this is not what it looks like." But it was. It was exactly what it looked like. The man he called brother had just kissed his real sister. Michael turned slowly, face calm, eyes cold. He didn't look scared. He looked bored, like getting caught was part of his daily routine. He smirked a little and said, "Relax, Daniel. It's not that deep." That sentence broke something in me. Not because of what he said, but because it showed me who he really was. The player everyone warned me about. The one I fell for anyway. Daniel's voice shook the room. "Get out of my house, Michael.
Now."
Michael smiled at me one last time, a smile that promised trouble, and whispered, "Call me when you're done being your brother's shadow." He walked out.
Calm.
Unbothered. Leaving chaos behind. Daniel looked at me like he didn't know who I was anymore. "Grace," he said quietly, "you don't even understand what you've done." Tears filled my eyes. I tried to speak, but words died in my throat. Because deep down, I knew he was right. Grace Okafor. That's my name. 24 years old. Simple girl from Enugu but living in Lagos with my older brother, Daniel. He's 32, smart, serious, and overprotective, the kind of brother who acts like your father, your teacher, and your security guard all at once. Daniel built his company from nothing, Okafor Techs. But what really made him rise was his best friend, Michael Adeyemi. Michael was rich, smooth-talking, and dangerously charming. The kind of man who never looked like he had a bad day. He drove the latest cars, wore suits that fit like they were sewn directly onto his skin, and smiled like he knew everyone's secrets. They had been friends since university. Daniel always said, "Michael's like family." Well, he was until the day he met me. The first time I saw Michael, I understood why every woman talked about him. He was tall, brown-skinned, with eyes that looked like they could read your mind. He laughed easily, spoke softly, and had this calm power that made people listen. But I didn't like him at first. I thought he was arrogant. He'd walk into our house like he owned it, hug my brother like they built heaven together, then look at me and say, "Grace, you've grown again. You're making it hard for Lagos men to breathe."
I rolled my eyes every time.
Still, there was something about him I couldn't ignore. He never shouted. He never chased anyone. Yet everyone wanted to be around him. Maybe that's how it started, small, harmless conversations that turned into something else. One night after a family dinner, Daniel left early for a meeting. Michael offered to drop me at home. In the car, soft music played, the night air smelled of rain, and he said, "You're not like other girls." I laughed. "You've probably said that to all of them." He smiled.
"No.
They all say the same things. You actually listen." And just like that, my heart started listening to him. For months, Michael and I grew closer in secret. He'd text me in the morning, "Good luck at work." At night, "Don't stay up too late." Simple messages. But simple things build strong walls. I tried to stop it. I told myself, he's my brother's best friend. But feelings don't listen to rules. Then one Saturday, Michael invited me to his birthday party. The event was at his mansion in Banana Island. Cars lined the street. People dressed like movie stars. When I entered, music filled the air, lights sparkled, and Michael stood at the center of it all, surrounded by people, yet looking straight at me. He smiled like the world slowed down for a second. "You came," he said. I nodded. "I shouldn't have." "But you did," he whispered. He gave me a drink, and for a while, I forgot everything else, the noise, the rules, the warnings. We danced. We laughed. I felt alive. Then suddenly the power went out. Everyone screamed. It was dark for just a few seconds, but that's when it happened. I felt his hand touch mine. Then his lips brushed against mine in the dark.
Soft.
Slow.
Wrong.
When the lights came back, His eyes met mine, and he smiled like he just found a secret treasure. That night, I didn't sleep. And from that moment, nothing between us stayed innocent. Days turned into weeks. Michael would come over to see Daniel, but his eyes would always find me first. He'd sneak small notes into my books. "You looked beautiful today." Or whisper quick things when no one was watching. "You make me forget who I am." I tried to end it. Every time I said, "We can't," he'd say, "Then don't think, just feel." And I felt, until the day my brother caught us. After Michael left the house that night, Daniel didn't speak to me for hours. He just sat on the couch, staring at the wall. When he finally talked, his voice broke. "Grace, that man isn't what you think he is." I whispered, "I love him." Daniel laughed bitterly. "You think you do. Everyone loves Michael until they meet the real one." He told me something that made my heart stop. He's been with 3 of my ex-girlfriends, and one of them tried to take her life because of him. I froze. "You're lying." "I wish I was," Daniel said. I wanted to defend Michael, but my chest tightened. I remembered the stories people told about him, how he moved from woman to woman, how no one stayed long. I had called them jealous. Maybe they weren't. That night, I cried until morning. The next day, Michael called. I didn't answer. He texted, "You believe your brother over me?" Then another text, "Don't forget who held you when you cried." My heart hurt. My mind spun. Was he lying? Was Daniel right? That question followed me for days, until the moment that changed everything again. A week later, I went to Michael's company to return a file Daniel had left behind. The receptionist smiled and pointed me upstairs. I walked quietly into his office, but stopped dead at the door. Michael wasn't alone. A woman sat on his desk, wearing his shirt, laughing, playing with his tie. He turned, saw me, froze. "Grace." I dropped the file. My voice was small. "You said you loved me." The woman laughed softly. "He said that to me this morning." My knees felt weak. My chest burned. And as I walked away, his voice followed me, not shouting, not begging, just saying, "You don't understand, Grace. It's not what it looks like." But it was. It was exactly what it looked like. As the elevator doors closed, I saw Michael hurry after me. He reached the glass, but it was too late. The door shut. The box carried me down 12 floors in heavy silence. When I stepped into the lobby, he called from the top of the stairs, "Grace, wait, please." People turned. I kept walking. Outside, the sun felt too bright. I got a cab and told the driver, "Yaba, please." I held back tears, so hard my throat burned. My phone buzzed in my bag. "Michael." I don't know why I picked up. "It's not what you saw," he said quickly. "That woman is." "Wearing your shirt," I said. My voice sounded like someone else's, small and flat. "She changed after spilling coffee. It's a joke our team plays on birthdays." "Stop," I said. "You don't owe me stories." He was quiet for a moment. Then, softer. "Please let me explain face to face. Tonight. Public place. No tricks." I said nothing. "Grace," he added, "I know I've been careless. But this one isn't what you think." I ended the call. I did not block him. I hate blocking. It feels like putting stones in your own ears. I looked out the window. Lagos moved like a fast river. Okadas weaving, hawkers holding cold water up to glass, a woman balancing oranges like a crown. Life didn't stop because my heart fell. It just kept going, noisy and bright. When I got home, Daniel was at his desk. He looked up and saw my face. He stood so fast his chair hit the wall. "What did he do?" he asked. "No, hello." "No, sit." Just that. Big brothers can smell tears. I told him what I saw in a few quiet words. He shut his eyes for a second. "I warned you," he said, and his voice wasn't cruel. It was tired. Michael is a player. When he smiles, he hides a knife. Not for business, he is sharp there, but for hearts. "I know what I saw," I whispered, but a part of me still wants to hear him speak. Daniel sat. He rubbed his forehead. "You are kind," he said. Don't let kindness blind you.
I won't, I said.
But even I didn't believe myself fully. Give me the file, he said gently. I'll take it to the office later. I placed the empty space in front of him, because I had left the file in Michael's office. Shame burned my cheeks. I forgot it there. Daniel didn't shout. He just nodded, stood, picked up his keys. I'll get it myself. Let me go with you, I said, standing too.
No, he said. Rest.
Drink tea. Breathe. He looked at me, and his eyes softened. We will handle this like people, not like gossip. He left. The door clicked. The small sound felt heavy. I boiled water. I made tea with too much milk and sat by the window. The neighbors' kids were playing 10-10 in the yard, clapping hands, laughing loud. I pulled out my small blue notebook where I write little thoughts for my art kids. I wrote, "When your heart breaks, do not break your mouth. Speak with care." I underlined care twice. My phone buzzed with messages. Friends who had seen Michael at events asked, "Are you okay?" My cousin wrote, "I told you that guy is danger." My mother sent a voice note that said, "I don't know what is going on, but I am praying. Remember who you are. Don't let anyone turn you into a mirror of their bad behavior." I smiled a little. My mother always knows how to put a blanket over cold thoughts. I just thought it loud, like a small prayer. The door opened. Daniel walked in with the file, his jaw hard. He put it on the table and said, "We need to talk." My chest tightened. What happened? "I found more than a file," he said. "I found a copy of an old tool I built, Lantern, on a system that should not have it. It was supposed to be shelved years ago. Someone dragged it out and used it in a way that looks wrong." "Wrong how?" I asked. He scratched his chin, thinking how to put it in simple words for me. "Imagine a pipe," he said. "Water should go from tank A to tank B. Someone made a thin hidden pipe from the middle of the main pipe to tank C. Every time people book desks in Michael's co-working spaces, small money drips through that hidden pipe to a place where it becomes big money. And my old tool's name sits there like a sign, pointing back to me." My stomach nodded. "Are you saying they could blame you?"
"They could try," he said.
"If they want a clean person to cover dirt." "Who is they?" I asked. He shook his head. "I don't know yet." Before I could speak, his phone buzzed. He read a text and frowned. "Michael wants to talk," he said. "He says it's urgent." I looked at my own phone. A message sat there too. "Tonight. 7 p.m. Bay and Bean Cafe. Bright place.
Public. Please."
I exhaled slowly. "I'll go." Daniel's eyes went sharp.
"No.
"I need to hear him," I said. "If he lies, I'll know." "You think you will," he said. "Players dance inside truth like fish in water." I put my hand over his. "I'll go in the open. People around. Daylight. No car parks. No hotel rooms." I forced a small smile. "No shirts on other women." Daniel's mouth twitched. He didn't smile back. But he let go of the argument. "I'll sit across the street," he said. "If you tilt your head twice, I come in."
"Deal," I said.
The day moved like wet cloth. Heavy. Slow. I went to the community art center for a few hours. The kids were painting a kindness wall, a long sheet where they wrote small good things. Share your water. Say sorry fast. Don't push people. Help your grandma. Little Chica painted a yellow sun with a big mouth, singing. "The sun talks," she told me. "It says, be kind." I almost cried, but I laughed instead and told her to add little blue lines for the singing voice. A woman I didn't know came by with a bag of bread. "For the children," she said. "I saw the way you helped them. God bless your hands." She didn't ask for photos. She didn't talk too much. She just left the bag and left. Small kindness is a big medicine. At 6:30 p.m., I wore a plain dress and a light jacket. I tied my hair. No lipstick. I felt like I was going to a test where the teacher smiles, but the questions don't. Daniel drove me to Bay and Bean Cafe. He parked 2 shops away. He adjusted the mirror so he could see my table. "Tilt twice," he said. "Don't be brave to impress yourself. Be safe to keep living." "I know," I said. I walked in. The cafe was bright. The air smelled like coffee and warm bread. People sat in little pairs with soft voices. I chose a table by the window where the street light made a square patch on the floor. Michael came, right on time. Simple black shirt. No jacket. No show. He looked tired, the kind of tired that sleeps under your eyes. He sat not too close. Thank you for coming, he said. Say what you want to say, I answered. He held my gaze. The woman in my office, her name is Olivia Oni. She is our internal auditor. She wears jokes like clothes. But she wasn't my anything. He paused. I have been a player, Grace. I won't erase that. I have hurt people. But not this time. Your shirt on her? I asked. She poured coffee on herself, he said. Her spare blouse was in the dryer. People in the office tease. It was stupid. I told them to stop later. But you had already seen the bad picture. I breathed in and out. Maybe I believe you on that. But the deeper problem is bigger than shirts. I know, he said. He leaned in a little. Listen to me. Someone is moving money through my company, without my permission. Your brother's old tool name was placed there like a sticker. If fire comes, it will hit him first. Who? I asked. He looked around, lowered his voice. My investor, Chief Oladipo Akand. Big man. Old money. His daughter Vanessa we dated on and off. He needed a way to pull cash without noise. He hired a consultant to tune our systems. My CFO, Lauren Adebayo, fought it. She resigned last week. After that, I started seeing strange numbers. Lantern. Shell accounts. I am not blind, Grace. I just waited too long to act. Why are you telling me? I asked. Tell Daniel. Or the police. I will, he said. But I wanted to tell you with my mouth before the storm starts. I didn't want your first truth to come from a headline. Convenient, I said. You hurt me, and then you bring me news like a hero. He winced a little. I deserve that. But I'm trying to be better. If I don't act now, more people will drown. He slid a small brown envelope across the table. It looked like it could hold a flash drive. Copies, he said. Logs. Names. Not the only proof, but a start. If anything happens to me, give this to a journalist. Not a blogger that sells fear for clicks. A real one. I didn't touch it. Why would anything happen to you? He held my eyes. Because a man who stops a river from feeding a rich farm does not go home dry. Silence sat between us like a third person. Grace, he said quietly, I won't ask you to choose me. Choose truth. If you don't trust me, I accept it. But don't trust the sweet lies people will tell to make this look normal. What about us? I asked before I could stop myself. He looked sad in a way I had never seen. I want us, he said. But I don't deserve you, not today. Maybe not ever. I'm trying to earn the right to even stand near your peace. My throat tightened. I looked out the window. Daniel's face was a small shadow in the rearview mirror. He was watching. I was safe. I turned back to Michael. If you're telling the truth, I said, you must act. No press games. No power tricks. Call a real audit. Tell the police. Be loud and clean. I will, he said. Tonight. A waiter came by with 2 glasses of water. He smiled like he didn't know our world was shaking. Anything else? No, we said together. Michael stood. I'll walk you to the door. I can walk, I said. I know, he said. But I want to practice being decent. We reached the door. He didn't try to touch me. He didn't ask for a hug. He just nodded like a man leaving a quiet church after confessing something heavy. I watched him go. He looked smaller, and for once, that didn't make me happy or sad. It just made me thoughtful. Daniel joined me inside. He saw the envelope on the table. You took something from him? I haven't touched it, I said. I wanted you to see it before I even blinked at it. He stared at the brown paper. If this is a trap, it's a good one. If it's truth, it's a thin door, I said. And thin doors still open. We went home with the envelope still on the table between us, like a guest we didn't invite. Mom was waiting in her wrapper, a bowl of ground nuts in her lap. Eat, she said. Thinking is hungry work. We ate. We breathed. Daniel called a friend, an honest journalist named David Mensah. English first name, Ghanaian Yoruba surname. I liked the mix. He lost his job once for refusing a bribe, Daniel said. Now he runs a small platform that checks before it shouts. Good, Mom said. Shouting without checking is how houses burn. David arrived in a neat shirt and kind eyes. He listened with his whole face. He put on gloves to open the envelope like it was a baby bird. Inside was a flash drive and 2 printed screenshots. He didn't plug the drive into anything yet. He just read the papers first, slowly. This looks serious, he said. It might be real. It might be a well-made lie. We won't know until we check it with tools that don't gossip. What's the quiet plan? Daniel asked. 3 steps, David said, counting on his fingers. 1. Copy the drive without touching the internet. 2. Compare the logs to public records we can trust. 3. Share with 2 other trusted people who can hold it safely. If someone tries to break one door, the truth will be waiting inside another house. He smiled at me. You can sit. You've done enough for tonight. I'll sit, I said, but I won't sleep. He laughed softly. Fair. The calm part of the night came like a soft visitor. David worked quietly. Mom made tea. I washed cups. Daniel paced, and then sat, and then paced again. For 1 hour, no shouting, no fighting, no lies. Just careful steps. Then the storm knocked. A hard bang on the door. 3 times. Not neighbor knocks. Heavy knocks. Daniel went still. Mom's eyes flashed. David slid the flash drive into a small metal case and closed it. He put the case in his pocket like nothing happened. He nodded at Daniel. Daniel opened the door. 2 men stood there in dark jackets. They looked like police, but the kind that doesn't smile. One held a paper. The other held nothing but hard eyes. Good evening, the first man said too politely. Mr. Daniel Okafor? Yes, Daniel said. You are needed for questioning. Cybercrimes. Please come with us. Mom stepped forward. Is there a paper? She asked. Or only a mouth? The man showed a document. It looked real enough to scare a cat. It is small.
He will be back soon, he said.
People love to say this when they plan to make you wait. Daniel looked at David. David nodded once. Don't sign anything, David said. We'll bring a lawyer. We'll follow. The second man's eyes slid past Daniel and landed on me. Then on the table. Then on the brown envelope. Madam, he said softly, we also need any items related to the case. Please give us the envelope. The room breathed in and didn't release the air. I looked at the envelope. I looked at David. He shook his head a tiny bit, almost nothing. Mom squeezed my hand under the table. What envelope? I asked. The man smiled without teeth. Madam, let us not pretend. Officer, David said, polite and iron, if you are taking anything, list it and sign. If you are asking, we are saying no. The first man's voice sharpened. Madam, the envelope. The lights flickered once. Nipa doing dance. The room went dark for 2 seconds and came back. It was enough for David to slide his hand under the table and drop the metal case into my tote bag. He pressed my elbow. Hold it, the touch said. Tea? Mom asked the officers, as if we were neighbors borrowing salt. We don't fight on empty stomach. The first man stared, then blinked. Yes, he said, surprising himself.
Tea.
Mom took her time. The water boiled. The smell calmed the room, but not the men's eyes. They took Daniel. We followed with David in our small car. On the way, my phone buzzed. An unknown number. If you bring that drive to the station, your brother will not return tonight. Another message came fast. Come alone to the old ferry warehouse by the docks. 30 minutes. Bring the drive, or your family will cry. My hands went cold. I showed David without speaking. Do not go, he said. Someone is watching us, I whispered. If I don't go, he breathed out. If you go, you do not go alone. And you do not take the real thing. We reached the station. They asked us to wait. Lawyers were on their way. Papers were processing. Words that make time long. While we waited, the unknown number wrote again. Tick.
Tock.
I stood. David, I said, we have to move. If they touch Daniel. I'm coming, he said, with a second dummy. And we will call someone I trust who knows how to sit in the dark without fear.
Who?
I asked. A woman named Joy Okoro, he said. She bites lies for breakfast.
He called.
She answered. Dachshund 30, she said. Her voice sounded like a small bell with a sharp edge. We left the station quietly. Mom wanted to follow. I hugged her. Stay with Daniel, I said. He needs your prayers close. She pressed her palm to my forehead and whispered a blessing in Igbo so soft it felt like warm rain. The city outside looked like it was holding its breath. We drove. The docks were a row of tired buildings and stubborn lights. The old ferry warehouse sat with a blue door half open, like a mouth waiting to whisper. Are you ready? David asked. No, I said. But I am going. We stepped down. A figure stood inside, face hidden by a simple mask. The voice that came out was flat, like someone trying to be two people. You brought it? I lifted a brown envelope. It held nothing but paper. The real metal case, the quiet truth, was pressed against my ribs inside my dress under my jacket. My heart beat against it like it wanted to warn me. Let my family go, I said. Daniel is at the station. Don't touch him. A small laugh. Your brother is safe for now. But boys who stand in front of rich men's cars get tired. Who are you? I asked. Someone who hates the man you're falling for, the voice said. And someone who wants to use your kindness as a rope. Say his name, I said. Say Michael's name with your own mouth. Michael Adeyemi is a smile with a hole behind it, the person said. But he is not the only hole. My phone buzzed. A picture came. Daniel's driver, the kind-eyed man who always waited, sat on a chair with his hands tied, fear on his face. Another message. Next picture will be your brother. Rage rose in me like fire. But I remember my mother's words. Do not fight with a burning house. Wet your cloth first. I took a breath. I kept my voice steady. Take the envelope at the door, I said. No deeper. I don't walk into dark rooms with people who hide their faces. The figure stepped closer. Slow. Careful. Reached for the envelope. And blue paint exploded across the mask. I didn't even see Joy until she moved. She had slipped out of the shadow like a cat and popped a small can in her hand, splashing the masked face with bright blue. The person screamed and ripped off the mask on instinct. Under the paint was a young woman with sharp cheekbones and a thin scar on her chin. I knew that face from company photos. Lauren Adebayo,
CFO.
Smart, quiet, loyal, people said. Her eyes burned through the paint. You think this helps you? She hissed. You think the sea cares about the color you throw? I stepped back. David raised a small camera button on his shirt. A red blinked. Smile, he said softly. You're on Truth TV. In that second, I thought the worst was over. I was wrong. A dark van rolled up without lights, tires whispering on the gravel. Doors slid open. Two men in black rushed out. One grabbed my arm. Another reached for David's camera. Joy threw more paint. It hit one man's eyes. He cursed. David shoved the camera in his pocket and swung his elbow. He wasn't strong, but surprise is a weapon. The man stumbled. A third person stepped out of the van, calm like a teacher entering a noisy class. He wore a white shirt and an expensive watch and eyes like cold water. Chief Oladipo Akand. His voice was soft, dangerous.
Children, he said.
You're playing with knives. Lauren wiped blue from her cheek with the back of her hand. She stood straighter. Sir, she said. They brought the drive. Chief Akand's eyes slid to me. He smiled the way snakes smile in cartoons. Give me what you have, he said, like he was asking for salt across a table. I clutched my jacket.
No.
He nodded at a man. The man stepped forward, too fast, too hard. He grabbed my wrist. Pain shot up my arm. I bit my lip, so I wouldn't cry out. Joy moved to kick his knee, but another hand pulled her back. David tried to speak. Sir, this is recorded. Akand waved a finger. Little men with little lights, he said. I will switch them off. He reached out and touched my jacket over my heart, polite like he was brushing dust. Right there, he said. In the cloth. Clever girl. A whistle cut the air.
Loud.
Sharp. It came from the road. I turned my head and saw a shape on a motorbike, helmet shining under the dock light. The rider revved once and shot forward like a bullet. The van men flinched. The bike slid between us like a silver fish in water. The rider slammed the brake and the back wheel swung, spraying gravel. The move made everyone jump. In that blink, the rider grabbed my elbow, yanked me sideways, and shouted through the helmet, "Run." The voice was male, familiar, stubborn. Michael. Chaos broke loose. Joy pushed paint into another face. David pulled me toward the blue door. The motorbike spun smoke and noise. Lauren shouted, "Stop them." Chief Akand raised his hand, but the bike's engine roared and swallowed his small order. I ran. My heart pounded. My breath burned. The dock became a blur.
Feet. Shouts. Light.
Shadow. We reached the street. The bike skidded to my side. Michael pulled off the helmet, thrust it at me. His eyes were wild. On, he said.
Now.
I can't leave. I started, looking back for David and Joy. They'll follow the plan, he said. You on. I climbed behind him. My hands wrapped around his waist without asking for permission. The engine screamed. We flew, but we did not fly free. Two vans turned the corner ahead like dark mouths opening to eat us. Their lights were off. Their bodies were big. Michael cursed under his breath. He looked left, right, up, down roads, walls, night. Then he made a choice I will never forget. He turned the bike toward the water. Michael, I shouted. Hold me, he said. We hit the dock edge. The wooden boards rattled. The bike leaped a small gap to an old ferry ramp. Shouts rose behind us like angry birds. A man yelled, "Shoot the tires." The back wheel slid. The front wheel caught. We leaned forward. The ramp rose like a thin tongue over dark water. If the bike fell, we would not just scrape knees. We would sink. Michael gunned the engine one last time. The bike jumped. Air swallowed us. For 1 second, the city vanished. There was only night and wind, and the sound of my own name inside my head. We hit the other side with a violent thud. The bike shook. We almost fell. I clung to him. He kept us upright with a growl that sounded like a prayer or a curse. We shot down the far ramp into a narrow lane between warehouses. Behind us, men shouted, vans groaned, boots hit wood. We didn't stop. We turned. We flew. We hid in shadows and burst into light. We cut through a sleeping market, past piles of yams and baskets of fish, and a man who swore loudly at ghosts. We reached a small bridge. He killed the engine. We coasted. We hid the bike behind a kiosk selling phone cards. Silence came like a thick blanket. My heartbeat had its own voice. Michael pulled off the helmet and turned to me. He put his hands on my shoulders. Are you hurt? No, I whispered. You? No, he said. Good. We stood there breathing. Then he looked down at my jacket, at the shape under the cloth. Do you still have it? He asked. Yes, I said. He nodded. Don't give it to me, he said. Don't give it to anyone. Not even Daniel. Not yet. 2 hours. That's all I need. I go loud. I go to FCC. I take cameras. I say names. If I don't, you take that thing and burn the city with truth. You expect me to trust you now? I asked. After everything? He swallowed. No, he said. I expect you to trust yourself. You are the only person in this story who has not lied. I stared at him. I wanted to hate him. I wanted to love him. I wanted to sleep for a week. Instead, I nodded once. 2 hours, I said. He put the helmet back on. Stay in the light, he said. If the light moves, move with it. He kicked the bike alive and was gone. I leaned on the kiosk and let my knees be jelly for 5 seconds. Then my phone buzzed. A message from David. Safe. Joy safe. We got video. We saw him. Acond.
Go home now.
Don't answer unknown numbers. I texted back. On my way. I started walking. The night smelled like fried plantain and Old River. A vendor asked, "Sister, you want water?" I almost said no. Then I said yes. He handed me a cold sachet, like an apology from the world. I drank. It helped. I reached the main road. I flagged a cab. "Yaba," I said. As we turned into our street, I saw blue lights. Not the calm blue of kind police. The wild blue that spins like a headache. Neighbors were outside. Faces tense. Phones out. The light from their screens made the night look like a lake full of tiny moons. I paid the driver with shaking fingers and stepped out. Daniel stood by our gate, hands behind his back, 2 officers at his sides. Mom stood in the doorway, wrapper twisted, eyes fierce. David was setting up his small camera, mouth tight. Joy stood by the wall with pain on her hands and a look that said, "I dare you." The officer with the paper from before read in a loud voice, "Mr. Daniel Okafor, you are under arrest for theft, fraud, and interference with a federal investigation." "On what evidence?" David asked. The officer held up a clear bag. Inside the bag was a flash drive. Shiny. Familiar. The metal case looked like a twin of the one against my ribs. "We found this in your house," the officer said. "That's a lie," David said calmly, but his jaw went hard. "You planted it." "No," the officer said. "We received it from an anonymous tip. Delivered to the station. Labeled Okafor's device." My breath stopped. Someone had made a copy of a copy and put Daniel's name on it like a sticker. The officer stepped toward the gate. "Mr. Okafor, come with us." Daniel turned his head. His eyes found mine. They asked a question I didn't want to answer. "Do you have it?" I gave the smallest nod in the world. He blinked slow. Then he lifted his chin like a soldier. "Mom," he said softly, "lock the door after I leave. Don't cry." "I will cry if I want," she said, but her voice did not shake. They started to move him. A car rolled up fast and stopped too close. Doors flew open. A TV camera jumped out. A woman with a mic shouted into the night, "Breaking news! Tech CEO arrested. Family drama with millionaire best friend." I felt something inside me rise. It was not rage. It was not fear. It was a clean thing. A brave thing. A thing with a spine. I stepped forward and shouted, "Stop." Everyone turned. "If you take him," I said to the officer, "you take me too. And you take this." I pulled the metal case from under my jacket and held it up. Gasps snapped around me like tiny fireworks. "Grace." Daniel shouted. "No." David hissed, "Don't." But the officer was already stepping closer, eyes wide like a cat seeing meat. In the same heartbeat, my phone buzzed. A new message lit the screen with only 2 words. "Don't move." The sender's name was unknown. But the next vibration came with a second message.
It had a name this time.
From Michael Adeyemi. "I am outside the EFCC building with 5 reporters. I have the rest. Wait for me. 10 minutes. Don't let them touch that drive. 10 minutes." I looked at the officer's stretched hand. I looked at Daniel's calm eyes. I looked at Mom's shaking mouth. I looked at David's small camera and Joy's paint-stained fingers. Then, before I could decide, the street light above us blinked twice and went black. The whole street fell into deep shadow. Someone screamed. A generator coughed and died. And in that perfect dark, a gloved hand brushed my wrist. The metal case left my fingers. I gasped.
"Hey!"
The dark answered with running feet. "Thief!" someone shouted. "Catch him!" someone else yelled. Flashlights clicked on late and messy. Beams cut across faces, walls, and fear. The officer spun. The neighbors pushed. The camera woman stumbled. Daniel shouted my name. I stood in the middle of the storm, hands empty, heart full, eyes trying to grab the shape that had stolen the only thing between us and a lie. "I'll fix this," I yelled back, but even I didn't believe it. The trucks drove off, leaving blue smoke behind. People started leaving too, one by one, whispering stories I didn't want to hear. Then my phone buzzed. It was Michael. "I'm here. I told you not to move. Are you okay?" I turned. Through the fog of exhaust, his car headlights cut the night. He stepped out, jacket unbuttoned, hair messy, face set like stone. Cameras from earlier flickered back on. Reporters were filming again. But he didn't care. He walked straight toward me. "Where's the drive?" he asked.
Gone, I said.
My voice cracked. "Someone took it. In the dark." Michael cursed under his breath, looking around.
Who?
"I don't know. Maybe Lauren. Maybe Atkins' men. They came for it before you got here." He ran a hand through his hair. "Of course they did. They were always a step ahead." His voice was cold, but his eyes were burning. The player mask was gone. This was a different man. One stripped of pride, left only with fight. "Daniel's gone," I said. "They arrested him." "I know," Michael said quietly. "They'll use him to cover Atkins' tracks. But it's not over." "It feels over," I whispered. "We lost everything." He stepped closer. "Grace, listen. You didn't lose. You kept the truth alive long enough for it to move. They think they have all the proof, but I made copies too." I blinked. "What?" He pulled out his phone and opened an app filled with encrypted files. "Before I came to your house last week, I backed everything up to a cloud system tied to a journalist I trust. He's live streaming at EFCC headquarters right now." He turned the screen so I could see. On the live feed, a man in glasses was showing documents, reading account logs, naming Chief Oladipo Atkins. The caption read, "Breaking. Billionaire businessman under investigation for fraud." I gasped. "You did this?" He nodded. "You helped. The truth moved faster, because you believed it could." My chest felt tight. "Then why do they still arrest Daniel?" "Because corruption doesn't die quietly," Michael said. "It fights first." Just then, Joy came running up the street, out of breath, her face streaked with sweat and blue paint. In her hand, dirty, cracked, but real, was the medal case. "I got it," she yelled, lifting it like a trophy. My knees nearly gave out. "How?" She smiled, panting. "The thief was one of Atkins' guards. He ran into a fence. Literally. Fell flat. I grabbed it and ran before his friends noticed." Michael took the case and smiled for the first time in what felt like years. "You're a legend." Joy shrugged. "Just allergic to bad men." David joined us a moment later, phone pressed to his ear. "EFCC is watching the live stream," he said. "If we get this to their office tonight, Daniel walks free by morning." Michael opened his car door. "Then we move now." The drive from Yaba to Okoye felt like flying through danger itself. Lagos night lights blurred past like comets, yellow, red, blue. Horns screamed. Tires hissed on wet roads. I sat in the back seat, clutching the metal case to my chest, whispering prayers under my breath. Michael drove like a man who had something to prove, one hand on the wheel, the other sending voice notes to journalists. Joy sat in the passenger seat, scanning every car that got too close. At one point, a black SUV started following us. Michael noticed in the mirror. "We've got company." Joy grinned. "Let them come. Lagos roads are not for cowards." She opened the glove box, pulled out a flare stick, and cracked it open. The red light burst like fire. She tossed it onto the road. The SUV swerved hard, blinded for a second. We turned sharply and dove into a narrow side street filled with shops closing for the night. Michael killed the lights and slowed down. We waited. The sound of the SUV faded. "Lost them," he said quietly. My hands were shaking, but I didn't drop the drive. When we reached the EFCC building, armed guards were already waiting. Journalists crowded the gate, shouting questions, cameras flashing. The live stream had turned into a full-blown media storm. Michael parked and stepped out, raising his hands. "We have evidence," he said loudly. "We're here to set the record straight." The guards led us inside. Inside, the cold air smelled of metal and seriousness. The room they took us to had no decorations, just a desk, 3 chairs, and 2 tired-looking officers. One of them turned to me. "Your Grace Okafor?" "Yes," I said. He nodded. "Your brother's case is being reviewed. But you need to understand, if this goes wrong, it could put all of you in danger." Michael placed the metal case on the table and opened it. "It's not wrong. You'll find transaction logs, ghost accounts, and signed authorization documents from Akin's office. We have witnesses and copies." The officer glanced at the screen of his laptop. His eyes widened. "We've just received a live stream of the same documents from an anonymous journalist. It matches this." He picked up his phone, whispered something, then said, "Bring in Mr. Daniel Okafor." Minutes later, Daniel walked in. His hands were free now, his face calm but tired. He saw me and smiled weakly. "Little sister," he said softly. I ran to him and hugged him so tight he could barely breathe. "I'm sorry," I whispered. "I lost it for a second." He chuckled. "You found something bigger." An officer entered the room, holding his phone. "Chief Akin has been detained at his home," he announced. "Orders from above." The room went silent. Michael exhaled long and deep, like a man who had been holding his breath for years. Joy whispered, "Justice smells good tonight." The officer smiled slightly. Not justice yet, but a beginning. By sunrise, the story was everywhere. Chief Akin arrested in massive fraud scandal. Tech genius Daniel Okafor cleared of all charges. Michael Adeyemi exposes corruption ring. But none of those headlines told the full truth. They didn't mention a girl who held on to a flash drive in the dark. They didn't mention a mother who refused to sit down when her son was taken. They didn't mention that love, real, painful love, was buried somewhere under all the chaos. That morning, we all sat on the balcony of our small house. Daniel had tea. Mom hummed softly. Joy dozed off on the couch. Michael stood by the railing, quiet. I joined him. "You did it," I said. He shook his head. "We did. You believed in the truth even when you hated me." I smiled faintly. "I still kind of hate you." He smiled too. "Fair." We watched the sun climb over the rooftops, spreading gold across the city. "Michael," I said quietly, "why did you really do all this? You could have run." He took a long breath. "Because I was tired of being the player. I've spent my life playing people before they could play me. But you made me want to be seen. Not as the man with money. Not as Daniel's famous friend. Just me." He turned to face me. "I ruined that when I lied. I won't lie again." I looked away, blinking back tears. "Words are cheap." He nodded. "Then I'll show you." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small folded note. "For you," he said. It was the napkin from the cafe, where we last met. On it, in his handwriting, "Choose truth, even if it hurts." I folded it carefully and slipped it into my pocket. "You think we can ever be okay again?" he asked. "I don't know," I said honestly. "But I think we can be kind again." He smiled, and for the first time, it wasn't the smile of a player. It was the smile of a man learning to live without masks. The investigation dragged on, but the storm had calmed. Chief Akin's assets were frozen. Lauren turned herself in and gave a full confession. Daniel's company was restored, his name cleared. And Michael? He sold his stake in the company and started a foundation for orphaned kids learning tech in low-income areas. He called it Lantern after the same tool that almost ruined them all. He didn't call me for days after that. I thought maybe it was over, that our story had ended quietly, like most heartbreaks do. Then one evening, I found a box at our gate. Inside was a small lantern. Real, metal, hand-painted in blue and gold. Tied to it was a note. "When you're ready to forgive, light this. I'll come." I smiled through tears. Typical Michael, dramatic, mysterious, impossible to ignore. Daniel saw it and shook his head. "He's still trying." "I know," I said. "But maybe people can change." Daniel looked at me. "Maybe. But don't lose yourself trying to fix someone broken." "I won't," I said. "I'll just wait for light." That night, I put the lantern on my table. I didn't light it yet. Not because I didn't care, but because healing takes time. Sometimes love isn't about rushing back. It's about standing still until the right moment comes again. 3 days later, just when life was starting to feel normal, David sent a message. Grace, you need to see this. He attached a screenshot. It was a bank alert, one that came from an anonymous account. A huge donation, Nigeria Naira 50 million, had been transferred to Daniel's company's charity branch. The sender's name? MA Lantern Initiative. Below it a note. For Grace Okafor's kindness. The light she held helped us all see. I stared at it, speechless. Michael had disappeared again. No interviews, no social media, nothing. Just the donation, the message, and a silence that said everything words couldn't. Daniel smiled as he read it. The player finally learned a new game, he said. I laughed softly. Maybe love taught him the rules. The lantern on my desk flickered suddenly from the evening wind, its metal catching the last rays of the sun. I touched it gently, and for the first time in weeks, I felt peace. Life doesn't always give you the ending you expect. Sometimes the people who hurt you are the same ones who save you. Sometimes love comes in through the same door where betrayal once stood. And sometimes all it takes to change everything is kindness you give even when your heart is breaking.